Hi everyone, how are you all doing? My name is Natalie, and this video we are going to talk about this upcoming week astrology forecast, and I'll be talking about March 24th to 30th. I hope that if you enjoy what I do and share on this channel, you can subscribe and share with your friends. So this is a big week. I know I keep saying that this is a big week since like the 1st of March, and yes, March is one of the most energy-packed month in 2025. We have literally a lot of things that are happening, and I post this video a little bit later than I wanted to. I was really busy and pretty overwhelmed with many things, but the early part of this week astrology actually is included in the last week's video because it happens kind of from weekend and it spread and sip into this week's Monday and Tuesday. So if you miss the Monday and Tuesday astrology, just go back to the last video. This video we are talking about March 24th to 30th, but mainly we're talking about the second half of the week. On March 27, Thursday, Venus retrograde will retrograde back into the sign from Aries into Pisces. So Venus will continue to retrograde, but now Venus retrograde journey might shift and change the vibe and flavor a little bit with the sign of Pisces. Venus is exalted in Pisces, so in some way for some people this Venus retrograde might feel a little bit softer and feel more like you can really start to see what is this Venus retrograde is about for you, and maybe for some you might even feel like you feel like a sense of relief now that it's back into Pisces, but it's still retrograding, so you're still experiencing all the retrograde energies, and maybe in all the Venusian stuff like money matters, relationships, things that brings you joys, and so on and so forth. But there is a vibe shift. When Venus was in Aries, Venus is more feisty, more fierce. It's more about you because Aries mantra is I am. It's about yourself. So maybe you are thinking about how the different relationships in your life is affecting you, or what do they mean to you? Do they align with you? Do you still feel like you want to spend your time and energy in them, or you are seeing those things that you want to address, change, or it's time to maybe do some changes in some of those relationships? And now that Venus retrograding back into Pisces, the energy feels more of it kind of almost feel like it zoom out, because Pisces is that collective oneness and unconditional love and compassion. So you might be looking not just the relationship you have in your world, but more so how do you relate yourself to the collective, what is happening in the world, the people in the world, because whether we want to admit or not, we agree or not, we are connected. Things that is happening far away, even though it can feel like it's far away, but it does indirectly or directly affect you in some way, shape, or form. And what you do, what you choose to do or not to do, also in some way, shape, or form affect or can create some kind of change to those people or other people in the world on some level. So we might be thinking about that during this part of the Venus retrograde journey as well. Like I said, right after Venus retrograde back into Pisces, Venus will then conjunct Neptune, and I want to say, unfortunately, this is a red flag day for me because Venus conjuncting Neptune and retrograding. So this can definitely be a day where you are not seeing clearly, where you're not thinking clearly. So I will suggest that you don't take any you don't make any big important decision, have any important conversation if you can on the day, because there's a chance that you might be, or the other person is wearing this rose tinted glasses, is not seeing the red flag, seeing the signs, seeing the exclamation mark, and there might be miscommunication, misunderstanding. We do have Mercury retrograde going on as well. This is not a day you want to make a commitment, you want to give your time a few more days to think it through, to address the whole situation, to make sure that is something that you have a full picture of. So yes, and this is also the second time we have Venus-Neptune conjunction because of the retrograde. The first one was February 1st. So for some, maybe this is a time where this week you will experience what happened in early February coming back. Maybe during the first Neptune-Venus conjunction in early February, you made a decision, or you saw something, or you started a relationship, or that person seems nice, and now that Venus is retrograded and conjuncting Neptune again, you're like, oh my god, what did I see in that person? Like, oh my god, why did I make that purchase? And you might be seeing the repercussion this week. Just saying. So this might be the day. If you can, don't make any important decision just yet. On March 29, Mercury will be doing the same thing. Mercury retrograde will retrograde back from Aries into Pisces and conjunct Neptune in Pisces. So again, today definitely conversation can be murky. You might, be not receiving all the information. You might not understand, or you might not be communicating well, or the other person. So again, just make sure you are clearly expressing yourself, or you are, double checking. Did you say that? Am I getting it right? To avoid unnecessary miscommunication or misunderstanding. And of course, if possible, don't make the final decision just yet. Give it a few more days, because solar eclipse is also happening today. We are having the partial solar eclipse in Aries on March 29, 3:57 a.m. Pacific time, or it will be also March 29, 6:57 p.m. Hong Kong time. So adjust the time according to where you are in the world. The solar eclipse is happening with the sun and the moon at 9 degrees in Aries. This is the last and final eclipse in this whole Aries Libra axis that we have been experiencing since April 2023. So about 2 years ago. We're wrapping up the cycle. We are finishing the eclipse stories that is taking place in your Libra and Aries houses. And this is a day where it depends how it impacts your own natal chart. Some people, you might really have some fated event, shift, changes that is taking place today that take you by surprise. Again, like I say, eclipses is something that sometimes bring in fated beginnings and endings. So just stay open, be flexible, and just surrender to whatever is coming up. Know that even though you might not get the full picture, you might not understand fully, but they're all happening for our highest good. So since this is the last eclipse that we will be having in the Libra Aries axis, it's also a great time this week to reflect on this journey for yourself. When we talk about in a general sense, Aries and Libra talks about the relationships we have with ourselves, which is Aries all about, and how we relate ourselves with other people, Libra. Perhaps the past couple of years, you might experience some changes in the different relationships you have in your world. It doesn't limit to just romantic partnership. It talks about all your one-on-one relationship. So this can be, yes, romantic partner. This can be friends, family, co-workers, so on and so forth. there might be new people coming into your life, there might be people leaving your life, vice versa. I can attest, myself went through this, and many of my clients and friends also went through this. This is kind of like one of the main topics. And also look at the themes and topics, areas of your life in Aries and Libra houses. Those are the things that experience this eclipse energy as well. This final eclipse in Aries is quite intense. It's quite powerful. And of course, you have to see how it is aspecting your natal chart. But we also do have Mercury and Venus retrograde happening at the same time, and it's retrograding in the sign of Aries. They just left Aries and back into Pisces, but the energy is pretty much there. So this can be an eclipse that brings in a lot of changes and perhaps also miscommunication, misunderstanding, and disinformation, whether this is on a personal level or on a collective level. So there might be a lot of things that is happening. And to be honest, we already do see a lot of things happening around the world, with the wars that are happening in different parts of the world, and with the world leaders. Aries, Sun is exalted in the sign of Aries. Whenever we have eclipses happening in the sign of Aries and Leo, because Sun rules the Leo, there tend to be a lot of things happening with the world leaders as well, like tracing back into with historical events. Many leader assassination or major things that happen with world leaders do happen around what the eclipse season in the sign of Aries and also Leo as well. So this week we might be seeing more chaotic events taking place, and I am trying not to project, but I do need to say what I'm seeing the energy of this eclipse is telling us. I am worried. We already see, because when I was first looking at the eclipse, I was worried that the ceasefire deal will be broken with this eclipse, and unfortunately it's already broken, and we do see the violence taking place again. And we do, because this Aries Libra eclipse cycle do really impact both Israel and Palestine birth chart. So unfortunately it is really I don't want to sound doom and gloom, because I also understand that sometimes what we feel or what we say can project into the reality. But I do want us all to know what is really happening. And so I am also asking all of us to continue to do what we can in our own ways, to continue to send out prayers, good energy, and pray that more people is going to take action in whatever way they can to contribute to the stop of the genocide. Whether you are protesting, whether you are creating music, art that is about this, whether you are speaking up for it, whether you are boycotting, whether you're educating yourself, educating others, spreading awareness. We cannot do everything, but we can all do something. So here's my little vent for that. So went on a little tangent, but on a personal level, this can bring up strong emotions, because the ruler of this eclipse is Mars, and Mars right now is in Cancer. Oh my God, Mars is still in Cancer. It's like, hello, Mars is in Cancer forever, because Mars is still in its post-shadow energy of Mars retrograde, but at least it's direct. And Mars during this eclipse is having an exact square with Chiron in Aries. That is why I said my worries and stuff like that on the wars that's happening around the world, because Mars very much, and Aries is about wars, about violence, about gun power and weapons and all that stuff. And having Chiron in Aries, yes, but on a personal level, it can bring up your personal wound, you know, and this can also talks about family secrets, family wounds, because Mars is in Cancer. Maybe perhaps this eclipse, not all, but maybe some of us will discover some family secrets being revealed. What is happening, what is really happening in your family. Maybe something is not talked about and is finally being talked about. Maybe this has to be your personal wound, trauma that you suffer from your family, you know, or this is your own personal healing journey. But having this square, having this eclipse, perhaps this will also inspire you to take some action so that you can maybe embark on this healing journey, continue to heal, or take some action towards this thing that is coming up, this emotion that is coming up for you as well. And right after this solar eclipse, on the 30th, Neptune is going to ingress into the sign of Aries at 4:57 a.m. Pacific time or 7:57 p.m. Hong Kong time. So again, adjust the time according to where you are in the world. This is the first time that we experience this energy, because in our lifetime, Neptune never entered Aries. Last time Neptune was in Aries was 1861, because Neptune is a slow traveling outer planet. It takes about roughly 165 years for Neptune to travel through all 12 zodiac signs, and Neptune spent roughly around 14 years in each sign. So for the past 14 years, Neptune was in Pisces, and now in the next 14 years, Neptune will be in Aries until 2039. So this is kicking off for us individually on a collective level a new 14-year cycle with Neptune in Aries. But since Aries is the first sign of the zodiacal wheel, Neptune in Aries is also kicking off a new 165-year cycle for all of us as well. Even though we won't be able to see the full 165 years, but we are beginning a new Neptune cycle for all of us on a collective level as well. So this is big. And Neptune is only going to spend a few months this year in the sign of Aries, because Neptune will retrograde, and it will retrograde back into the sign of Pisces for a few months, and it will re-enter early next year into Aries again. So Neptune will be swimming between the sign of Aries and Neptune. So simultaneously, for you individually and for us on a collective level, it feels like we will be swimming between a lot of ending and beginning energy, with wrapping up the Neptune in Pisces cycle and beginning the Neptune in Aries cycle on some level. And last time when Neptune was in Aries, like I said, is 165 years ago, is 1861. And I'm not trying to be just focusing on US, but astrology is the study of history, cycle, and changes. And last time, 1861, it was the beginning of the American Civil War. So I'm not mentioning it saying that we are repeating this exact same thing, but that energy is coming back up. But as a human being, we do have free will, we do have the power to change. We can always choose, are we going to evolve or are we going to repeat? This is why astrology is the study of the cycle and changes, because we learn from the past to forecast what is coming. And we, as an individual and collective, can always choose to evolve or to not change. So this is all up to us in some way as well. And last time, so I'm just laying out some dates right now. When we have World War II, Neptune was in the opposite side, in the sign of Libra. And we are now experiencing that opposition energy, because now Neptune is in Aries. So I mentioned this because we have a lot of opposite energy happening as well. With Pluto, when we were having World War II, we also do have Pluto in the opposite sign. Pluto was in Leo when we have World War II, and now Pluto is on the opposite side in Aquarius. And during both the American Civil War and the World War II, Uranus was in Gemini, and Uranus will enter Gemini later this year in July. Are we going to have another World War? Are we going to have another American Civil War? I don't know. Maybe. I'm not trying to be pessimistic, but with what is happening around the world, it's very possible. But I also want to always give us a positive, optimistic outlook because I'm a Sag rising. I also feel like this time around, we, the collective, are much, much more powerful. We can see all around the world, all of us, so many, I can't say all, can't speak for everybody, but I see many people are really using that Aries energy to speak up, to take action. You see students, younger generation, which is Aries, the younger, the baby, the first sign, right, of the zodiac. They are unafraid to speak their truth, to take action. And it's so beautiful to see. So I feel like I want to stay optimistic. I want to say that we can also see the end of the power collapsing as well. And we just need to continue to do what we do and know that we can be the changes we want to see in the world. So let's talk a little bit more about Neptune in Aries. Neptune can associate with illusion, delusion, escapism, and spiral. Neptune can also talks about our ideals, our belief, our dreams. You know, Neptune do rules like photography, and actually interesting. Last time when Neptune was discovered, if I remember correctly, it was also around the World War, and that was the first time that people can have records, make pictures to really record, have records of the war. And this is when we have war photography. And Neptune also birth the motion pictures, the making of movies, this whole Hollywood dream thing, right? And now we can kind of see a resemblance because Neptune in Pisces now, unfortunately, we do see our phone, which almost everyone have nowadays, and we can stream live everywhere. And unfortunately, we see again the record, the real life stream of the genocide in Gaza and the wars around the world. But I say this to mention that we do see a resemblance, but we also see how people can act differently as well, because we see what is really happening as well. And I do feel like this Neptune in Aries transit, we will definitely see more new things coming out with technology, with the way we view things. We already have those VR thing happening. We see AI getting more and more developed. There's more things happening. So definitely during this Neptune in Aries, we can forecast more development in that sector as well. And another thing about Neptune in Aries, Aries mantra is I am, right? So in some way, shape or form, Neptune in Aries is also inviting all of us personally to figure out our own identity. And there's always the yin and the yang, the light and shadow attributes of all transit and energy. In some way, And like I said earlier, the sun is exalted in Aries. So during this Neptune in Aries transit, I feel like all of us, but also the world leaders, because Aries sometimes can associate with world leaders, we are all trying to figure out our identity and stand firm on what our identity is. We can see how the world leaders are trying so hard to grab onto their power and stand on their identities or their country's identities. We can also see us on a collective level. You might be embarking on a self-discovery journey, figuring out who you are. Neptune is about your ideals and belief. In the sign of Aries, who are you? What do you truly believe? What do you support? What are your values? During this transit, maybe also perhaps with what is happening on a collective level and in your personal world, you might find yourself getting lost in identity, trying to figure out who you are in this world. How do you want to show up in the world for yourself, for others, for the collective? And Neptune, like I said, it talks about that illusions. It also talks about the dissolving, the detachment, the dissolution. So having Neptune in Aries, in some way, it can also mean that there will be you're not going to experience it every day, right? It's a long transit, it's a slow moving transit, and maybe for some, this is when it especially aspect any personal points or planets you have. Maybe you have something in Aries, maybe you have something that aspect Aries, and the Neptune in Aries will maybe square your sun or sextile your moon or whatnot, right? And then throughout this transit, you might experience time when you will feel like you lost your identity, or you will feel like there's aspects of you that are dissolving, that you are shedding, so that you can continue to discover who you are and allow the most rawest, authentic self of you to really emerge out through the fog and to really embrace who you are and what do you believe, what do you stand up for, and show up in that new energy as well. You're trying to figure who you are in this world and how do you show up in this world as well. So this can be what all of us will experience at some point with this Neptune in Aries transit as well. And I'm not trying to say all these to make us feel like that, oh my God, we're all going to experience this energy right this weekend and it's all going to come and hit us all at once. Because like I said, this Neptune in Aries is a long 14 years transit. It's slow moving. And between this year and 2026, next year, Neptune will be back and forth in Pisces and Aries. So simultaneously in your personal world and on a collective level, we might continue to see some things that will dissolve and change, and you know, the illusion might be this collapse and the truth might be coming out. There's a lot of this kind of energy happening, and we will continue to see that. And of course, we will also change sometimes as we see what is happening as well. So we will definitely continue to talk about Neptune in Aries, but this weekend is where we might start to see a glimpse of what this Neptune in Aries transit might be for you personally and on a collective level in the next few months when we experience this energy. And lastly, I just want to quickly share the card of this eclipse and Neptune as well, because since both the eclipse and Neptune will be in the first decan of Aries, so this is the card that represents them. The Two of Wands is the first decan of Aries, and the ruler of this eclipse in Aries is ruled by Mars, and Mars in the tarot card is Tower. So this week, we might definitely see a lot of Tower moments in your life, perhaps, or on a collective level. On a collective level, I'm sure we already see, we've been seeing so many. We're definitely going to see more. But Tower doesn't mean it's bad. Tower is a neutral card. Sometimes things collapse. Sometimes sudden changes, fated events come in, not to destroy or ruin your life. It is here so that we can awaken, Neptune in Aries, so that we can awaken to what is the truth, or what needs to be changed, what needs to be shifted, so that we can continue to project out and look forward to the path that we're more aligned to the changes we want to create, to what we want in our life. So in some way, shape, or form, I feel like this is actually a more positive than negative card. So comment below, let me know which house is ruled by Aries for you. How have you been experiencing this eclipses in Aries Libra the past couple of years? What has changed for you? Like I said, there's a lot of energies happening this week, so do take care of yourself. Have a slower week if you can, and make sure just stay open, surrender to these energy, let things happen and show up for you, and take care of yourself and others around you. If you're interested in a personal consultation, my email in the description box below. Also, just to remind everyone, if you're still here, I am doing a giveaway. So if you want to enter, hop onto my IG, which is in the description box below, and check out the pinned video that talks about the giveaway. I'm giving out free astrology readings, so do check out my IG, check out that video to enter for it. The giveaway will end on the March 31st. In the meanwhile, take care, and I'll see you next time.